Good morning, friends. We are going to get this kitchen under control this morning. I have been in here just for a little bit. All I did was unload and load my dishwasher. I got some meat out to thaw because after we create this kitchen to be a functional kitchen, because that is what we have to get done today, because we have some friends coming over tonight to spend the night, and so I need to be able to make some food in here and I need a functional kitchen. So we did a lot of the work yesterday, but today is going to be wrapping it up and cooking dinner. So I have a bunch of canning jars, and my thought was originally to store all my canning jars that are empty downstairs. But then I was thinking, canning season is here. I'm a little bit behind, not totally behind. I could be canning a few things, but I'm really going to get through this weekend because we're having some family parties this weekend for some family that's in town and things like that. And then starting next week, we are going to be diving into serious canning season. So I thought that if I were to bring all these canning jars downstairs, I'm just gonna bring them back up in the next 5 or 6 days. So that doesn't make sense. I have these two cupboards above this oven here. And I know that I don't wanna store any food or anything I wanna access really readily up here because it's not going to be easily accessible. So I thought that I'm going to do quarts on these two sides here, pints on these two here. Maybe on top I'll put a box with half pints or something. Maybe I'll do regular mouth up here and wide mouth down here. So they are a little bit separate because sometimes I do prefer to can in wide mouth versus regular mouth. I can't find my step stool, so a chair is going to have to do one today. The way this moved has worked out perfect because the big harvest and the big food preservation isn't really upon us where I live here until this week of August. And it is great that I was able to pack everything, move everything, and now we're unpacking. And then as soon as we're done, we get to start the big food preservation projects, and I cannot wait. Every time I empty a box, I feel super productive and proud of myself, and so it's a good feeling that today we are emptying every single box, and then I'll post on Facebook Marketplace free moving boxes, because these are great quality boxes, and I'm sure there's someone that would greatly appreciate a bunch of boxes. Success. We all measure success differently, and the way that I'm measuring it is by adding one more box to this box. So another big thing I need to tackle are the spices and seasonings. I have 2.5 boxes of spices and seasonings, and mostly they're in these quart jars. I also have somewhere in here, let's see if I can find them. Oh, there's another box. So we have 3 boxes of quart jars worth of spices. But I have these that I bought a long time ago. Let's see. These really pretty jars. These are Fido jars. There are an Italian jar, and I marked everything what they are, and I'm considering, and I don't know what I should do, if I should put my spices in these jars as opposed to the quart jars and put them on display on this shelf. I really don't prefer to have things on my shelves, or I could keep them in the quart jars and put them on my shelves. I tend to like a more minimal look, but the only other place I really have that's good for spices, or I forgot, I've got this thing. And I think those fit there. So I could put the spices in here as well. How far does that open? So that's one more option I have. So I have a lot of options, or I could do what I did before, and I could put them in this Lazy Susan in the quart jars. So I'm not sure what exactly I should do. That seems like a huge decision, whatever I decide to do today does not mean I have to be married to it. I don't have to live with it forever. So we can adjust as needed. Maybe I just do something that's a little simpler for now, and then we get through harvest, canning season, and then if we need to adjust, we adjust. Because what I could do is put my savory spices on this side that's closer to the stove, and then on this shelf next to my KitchenAid, I could put my things like cardamom and stuff that's more sweet. But that feels a little too overwhelming, and I can do something that's a little bit easier. I have in here my utensils, and I have some utensils here that need to go in here. So let's get this project done first, and then we can make a decision on the spices. We've had these forks and spoons since we got married, and we are missing about half of them. So at some point I'm going to need to invest in some more. Throughout the years, I have collected random forks and spoons from, I think probably from the places I've worked. I don't know. So these random ones that do not match my set, I'm gonna go ahead and donate. What I wanna do, because we love this cutlery that we got this as a wedding gift. Something about the weight of it, it just feels really, really good. So I'm looking for a watermark, and I'm wondering if I can go ahead and just purchase more of the same. Let's see if there's a watermark. Or not a watermark, a maker's mark. Okay, yep, there is. So I'm gonna have to Google and do some Googling to see. I did look at Bed Bath & Beyond, and they did not have them, but I don't have very many of it left because over the 8 years, we've lost them. And I'm not gonna lie, it's probably me who's brought them to work or used them in my car, and they've gotten lost over the years. And so I want to try to have a complete set, because now I do have a complete set of china. I am only leaving 6 plates, 6 bowls, and everything here, 6 cups, because that's plenty for Josh and I don't need the 12 because we have 12 of everything, so I can have big parties and have all matching. So now I also want to make sure that I have all matching cutlery as well. This is how this drawer is coming together. I'm really, really liking it. We've got our chopsticks. The only thing is I wish the chopsticks would fit in one of these, but they don't. And so that's really, really pleasing to the eye. In my last house, I had the cutlery in one of these smaller drawers, but it didn't have enough space to fit everything. So I'm liking that I have this really wide one that I can put this in. So that's good. So we got one done. I think I'm gonna go ahead and say goodbye to this wooden spoon because it is broken. And I'm gonna keep this one because it's a drumstick and Josh is a drummer. So the next thing I want to tackle is this, because I finally found enough of the organizers to go in this drawer. So we're gonna go ahead and try to tackle that. So I'm gonna put my baking stuff on this right hand side because my KitchenAid is right here above this area. And over here I have my knives because my cutting boards are in this cupboard. And in here, we're gonna figure out what we're gonna put in here. I don't know. As much as I wanted to put all of my utensils in a drawer, I just don't think that's gonna happen. So I'm gonna tip this on its side here. I ideally did not want to have any, let's see, of my mixing spoons or mixing bowls. That's probably not realistic either, to put my wooden spoons in that cupboard either. I have these 3 shelves here, and I don't know what I'm going to use or put in them yet that's going to be super functional. Right now I have some pot holders and some oil, which makes sense, and some avocados, peanut butter, paper towels, and almonds. So that is still up for debate what's going to go in there. But I am going to set a boundary, I think, for my wooden utensils. Everything has to fit in this one container. I was listening to the Millennial Mom, and she talked about setting boundaries where you're not the bad guy making the decision. Whatever you choose for the container of that item everything has to fit in that. So I'm going to try to go through all of this. Even though we purged a lot already, I had a bunch of stuff up here at this house too. So even though I got rid of a bunch of stuff, I still have a bunch of stuff that I could probably gift on to someone else that could use it or need it more than I do. And these are those items that I had up here. So let's figure out what exactly we're going to keep and what we're going to donate. Back to the concept on boundaries, I thought that this was a super interesting concept, and it's all about making yourself not the bad guy, and whatever you set being the boundary, in quotes, being the bad guy, not necessarily, but so for example, if you have a ton of dish rags and every time you fold the dish rags and put them in the drawer, you can't close the drawer very well because they're overflowing on dish rags. So if you just say, my boundary is that the drawer that the dish rags are in needs to open and close easily, then that is your boundary. And you go through your dish rags and maybe you select the nicest ones and you find different uses or different homes for the ones that are no longer needed. And the same kind of idea in the closet, which I already organized our bedroom and laundry room before I tackled this kitchen. And I have a certain amount of hangers now in my closet, and that's my boundary. So everything that's in my closet has to be something I love, I feel good in, and I wear. And I can only have those many items with the amount of hangers I have in there. And that way I can open and close my closet really easily, and it's just making my life a lot easier. So I've really enjoyed kind of embracing this concept of boundaries. One more box empty. So I did separate this out into a couple different things. We got our drawer really organized, really happy with it. There wasn't actually that much more I needed to donate, about 3 things, but I am going to put my grill stuff out in my grill or on my grill because there is a little like cupboard in my grill. Then I have my wine and cocktail making supplies here. This is going to go somewhere that's not where I need to access every single day. This is going to be a drawer in an area that's going to be like my #1 functional cooking area. Not making any cocktails, not drinking any wine anytime soon, and even when I am able to do that again, it's not something that happens every day. So I don't need it in my everyday drawer like I had in my last house, which I don't know why I never thought about that before. We have our utensils. Now I probably could pare down a little bit, but at the last house I had 2 of these containers on my counter, and now I have 1. So I'm going to count that as a success, and we'll see if we need to pare down more at all. But I think we got it to a manageable amount there. So I'm happy about that. And now we get to break down one more box. Woo. Probably not the safest thing to have a cardboard box on a stove, but this is only going to be on here for a second, and then we're going to take it off. And then I know where I'm going to put these cocktail and wine supplies, and I know where I'm going to put my canning supplies. So we'll work on that next. At this point, my friend gave me a call, and it was really nice to catch up because normally we go swimming once a week and we have at least an hour and a half to hang out and catch up on each other's lives. And with all the craziness that's been going on, we haven't been able to do that in almost a month. So it was really nice to be able to take some time and catch up. And we will be going swimming this week, which I'm really glad to kind of get back into some sort of semblance of sanity. I was going to put my cocktail and wine supplies in with this canning drawer, but I thought, you know what, let's go ahead and separate those. Let's just make sure we have all like things with like things. We have our canning jars up here I went ahead and put some lids there too that are unused, so when we go to can, we'll have those. And that's why I chose to put the canning accessories in here. I have my pressure canning manuals, and then my lifters, my funnel, extra rings. These are used, so if I need to put something in a jar, I keep my used ones. You're not technically supposed to can with used ones. I have before, but I like to use these if I, do dry goods or something like that. So I like to keep those on hand. And then my pressure canning weight, I actually have in my purse because when I was moving, I was super scared I was going to lose that. So as soon as I get to my purse, I'm going to put that in here as well. We have our cocktail making supplies, our wine supplies, and then I have more space to put something here. I got my coffee area set up this morning, which was a great success. I'm putting some parts through the dishwasher, and I think I'm going to keep my Nespresso pods in this pot that I made in college when I was in a pottery class, and I haven't really used it for anything much, and I think that would be a really pretty way to store these pods. We are across from where the double ovens are. They're right behind me for context of where I am. And in this island, there is this really wide cupboard that has this slide out drawer, which I really, really like. I wish that this was what was on the other side where there are those square drawers, but I'm really excited that this side has this really big one. I thought, let's try this. I was gonna put my blender and my food processor in the pantry on that shelf, but I really don't want that shelf to get super cluttered. I already know I'm gonna put the toaster in the pantry on that shelf. And so I thought, let's try putting some of these smaller appliances in this cupboard and seeing how well we like this area. And then this really wide drawer on the other side where we have our baked goods, or not baked goods, but our baking supplies to make baked goods on the top shelf. I was going to put some on the bottom shelf too, but I really need a spot where I can put my frying pans and things. So I thought, let's not have the baking supplies encroach on that bottom shelf, and let's try to have our frying pans on the bottom shelf, and then on this cupboard that's right next to the stove above where we have our baking supplies, let's put the baking supplies that I don't access as much, like the dried milk powder, yeast, the spices that are not as commonly used, like clove and cardamom, and then I have my peanut butter and honey up there, and we'll see how long that lasts and if that works, but I thought that that made the most sense. And now I'm going to attempt to tackle this spice conundrum, because this spice conundrum I put off for a couple hours where we got other stuff done so we could feel confident in ourselves, and now I am going to try to see if I can figure out what I want to do with this. Right now I think this looks really pretty, but we'll see what ends up happening long term here. I'm telling you, friends, I am at a loss of what to do with these spices. I think that is pretty up there, but I have more than just those amount of spices in my boxes. I still have 2 boxes that are full. Some of them aren't spices, like this right here. This is freeze-dried tomato soup, which is one of the, smells so good. This smells like something that you would dust on crackers to make it like a tomato cracker flavor. This is the first thing I freeze-dried that is a meal, and it is incredible. You can't can tomato soup the way I like to make tomato soup because I like to put cream in it. I like to make a tomato bisque. So you can freeze dry it, turns into powder, and then you just need to make some grilled cheese, boil some water, and you have homemade tomato soup. I do have a recipe for my tomato soup. I can link it down below. It is the best tomato soup recipe. But this obviously is not going to fit up there. So I think what I'm going to do, for sake of sanity, I think kind of what I've been struggling with between the move and unpacking is decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is a real thing. Making thousands of decisions every day. This is taco seasoning. I need to make some more of that, clearly. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for your input on what I should do for the final spice setup. Should I keep my spices up here on this shelf? Should I put them down here, all of them, like I did at the last house? Or should I put them in those little Fido glass containers and put them in here and then store the bulk of my spices down in my bulk food storage room. So you tell me what you think I should do, and we will reassess. Then we can reassess, and after canning season, we can figure out where exactly we want to put all these jars. See, like my turmeric is already in one of these really pretty Fido jars, and I seriously bought enough of those to put all my spices in. It was quite an investment. I did that years ago when Josh and I lived. We got a box empty. I don't know if that totally counts because I feel like we're just stuffing stuff in this cabinet, but I think it's progress. Oh, and don't ever buy a pound of dill because that's a lot of dill. It's a half-gallon jar. Okay. So I have 3 jars of onion powder, so I definitely can condense those. I just condensed my oregano because I don't need that many jars of oregano. I know I saw another salt in here. I can condense these 2 salts. I don't need this many salt containers. Even though I feel like this was a little bit of a cheat, we now officially have 2 more boxes that are empty, and I'm going to count that as a win because every little win is a little bit of progress, I guess. I'm going to condense my onion powder into 1 jar. I don't need 3 different jars of onion powder. I bought this onion powder off Amazon, and it's actually a powder. It's not the granules. And it turns to a rock. And I've been just trying to use it up because I feel like I have to scrape it out every time I want to use it, so I will never buy onion powder like this again. I'll always buy onion granules. But I do want to use it up. It has good flavor. It just turns into a solid mass. I'm on the condensing train, and I purchased this 10-pound bag of pasta from Azure a long time ago. And I haven't used it because I didn't realize I bought whole wheat pasta, and I'm kind of nervous to try it. I'm not sure if I'm going to like it or not, and it's definitely time to try it. I have a instant pot macaroni and cheese recipe that I bought these thinking I would use it for, but I've been nervous to try. So I'm going to put this right where I see it, so it will be on my list of things to try. So hopefully we like it so we can use it up. I have a thought. I have one of these 1-gallon jars. I was thinking that maybe here above the KitchenAid, I could put flour and sugar or flour and oats and have those up here, things that I use a lot, so that I could free up the baking space in here, and I could put more, I don't know, things in here so it wouldn't be quite so cattywampus, but I'm not really sure. I think that I need to, well, I don't know what I need to do. We'll see, because then if I could make up more space in there, then those wouldn't be sitting all weird, but I'm not exactly sure. So for now, that's gonna work, but I only have one of these, so I would have to invest in another one of these. This is the last box that has anything for the kitchen in it, and I have my 2 Dutch ovens right here, and I know exactly where I'm going to put these. I think I can only fit 1 Dutch oven per drawer, so that's what we're going to put in these 2 drawers. 1 Dutch oven each. All of these boxes are empty. I was gonna wait, well, except for I have some nutmeg here, so now they are officially empty, and I wanted the satisfaction of breaking them all down at one time. I'm just double checking. Yes, they are all empty. This is gonna make it feel so much more organized in here. The stuff that is on the dining room table and behind me, those are projects that Josh is currently working on, so I'm gonna leave that stuff for him because I don't want to organize any of it and then he's not going to be able to find what he needs when he's working on it. And so my project today is just to finish well, I shouldn't say just, is to finish this kitchen, and we are able to do it, and it feels so, so good. So I have these moving boxes. I am going to put these on Facebook Marketplace so that if someone needs a box in order to move, and these packing papers, hopefully that will be a blessing to them. And then I did fill up one box for donations, and that feels good. I would have thought there would be more donations, and that just means that we did a really good job when we packed, that we were able to get rid of quite a bit of stuff. So I'm going to consider that a win, which is awesome. And then, like I said, that quarantine bin, I really did not have but one or two things that I put in there. And so I am going to keep that there, or not, I'm not going to keep it in the dining room. I'm going to put it somewhere, but I'm going to keep a quarantine bin. And I like that idea that there is a place that I can put stuff that gives me time to decide what I want to keep or not, and I don't have to make the decision right away. Now I'm going to clean up this island. This is the very last thing we need to clean up. Everything else has been put away. I have this basket that I'm going to put my reusable bags in and my paper bags. Where we live, you cannot get plastic bags. It's all paper, which I actually really, really like. And I like to put my recycle in the paper bags. So sometimes if I don't use or don't remember to bring my reusable bags, I'm okay with that, even though I have to pay a deposit on the paper, because I like to put a brown paper bag under my sink and I can put my recycle in there, and then I can just take the whole bag and put the whole bag in my recycle bin. Where we live, it is free to recycle, but you have to pay for garbage, and so we try to recycle as much as possible. And look at that, we got the island clean. Now I'm going to sweep, and I cannot find my angle broom. I do not like push brooms, but it's all I could find. So we went ahead and we swept, and this was perfect timing because I want to get dinner going here as soon as we are able to put the finishing touches on getting this kitchen nice and clean. I had my helpers out, Orbit and Tibro, were inspecting to see if I dropped anything that they might want. Not too much. I did drop a few of the macaroni noodles they were able to enjoy. Look at that. We got it done. Can't even believe it. Pantry is done too. I can't even believe we now have a functioning kitchen, which is awesome. Just in time, because it's time to make some dinner. Josh has some friends that are staying over the night, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to get this done, so that I could have a functioning kitchen and make dinner. He did call and say, do you want to just go get dinner because you've been working all day? And while that idea sounds really, really nice, I have some garden fresh produce that really needs to be eaten up, and we are having a party at my parents' house tomorrow. So if we don't eat it tonight, then I don't know if it might go bad before we get to it. So what I've started is we're gonna do burrito bowls, because burrito bowls are really, really easy. I have just white rice in my rice cooker. Normally I doctor up rice when I do burrito bowls, but you're gonna see we're gonna have really flavorful toppings, and so we're just gonna do really, really plain rice. And I have my cast iron here. I'm gonna go ahead and get the cast iron going. And I have my oven preheated to 450 degrees because we have a homegrown onion and all these tomatillos. So we're gonna make some tomatillo salsa, and we're gonna roast that in the oven. And we're going to make a simple, kind of like Mexican style tzatziki sauce because this cucumber needs to be eaten. I'm gonna dice up some homegrown tomatoes, and for dessert we can have some ground cherries. And I purchased some avocados, and they're getting a little bit soft, so we need to get these used up before they go bad. So we're gonna make some yummy guacamole. I also have a can of homegrown black beans that I canned, and I'm deciding whether we're gonna have this as well or not. I have that out just in case. Looks like our oil is ready for our chicken. We're gonna do really simple chicken. I just have chicken thighs that I diced up. We need to season our chicken. So first thing I'm gonna season it with is some salt, pepper, homegrown garlic, some cumin. I'm liking having my jars over there. We'll see if they stay there, but that's super nice so far. This is coriander, paprika, and some homegrown oregano. So we're gonna let that cook up, and we're gonna get going on our salsa. For our Tomatillo Salsa, I have a pan with just some parchment paper on it, just for easy cleanup. Cutting board. So we have this homegrown onion. I'm just gonna take the top and bottom off, and I'm gonna cut this into pieces. We're gonna blend this in the blender, so nothing has to be perfect. I wish I had a jalapeno, but I don't, and there would be one in the garden right now, but I'm not there, so I can't grab it. So we're gonna take our tomatillos, and all I'm gonna do is take this paper off, just like this, and then we're gonna put them on our paper, our parchment paper, and we're gonna roast those in the oven. The next thing we're gonna do is take some of our garlic. This is garlic that we grew in the garden together this year. And I'm gonna peel it. This garlic head actually is not completely dry, so it's gonna be a little bit more difficult to peel this paper off of it, but that's okay. So I'm gonna take half this head of garlic, and we're gonna roast it with the rest of the tomatillos and onions in the oven. I think so. Sounds good? Okay, bye, love you. We almost have this dinner completely put together. The salsa is just roasted in the oven, chicken's done, rice is done. Two out of the, we have one more side, let me show you. So I shredded up my cucumber, and I also added the juice of one lime. This is a yogurt sauce that sour cream sauce that I used to make all the time, and I haven't made it in a long time. The only thing I'm adding is a cucumber just to add a little extra veggie and like freshness to this dish. Basically, we're making a Mexican style tzatziki sauce. But instead of using yogurt, we're gonna use sour cream. So I'm gonna add maybe a tablespoon of honey, some cayenne pepper to help counteract that sweetness. I don't like these tops because you know me, I like to use a lot of spices. Those little holes are too small for me. Now this is cayenne, oh, that was a lot probably. We'll go with that. Nothing else that we have today for this dinner is spicy. Now I needed a clean spoon. We're gonna add some smoked paprika, cumin, maybe a little bit more cumin, and some coriander. Oh shoot. We're gonna clean up some of this pepper, some pepper, salt, garlic, and now our sour cream. And we're gonna mix this together. This is a big tub. I asked Josh to get me sour cream the other day, and he got this massive tub. So I'm only gonna start with half of it and then we'll give it a taste test. One thing that we're missing in this meal today is cilantro. Normally I would be putting cilantro in everything that we're cooking, but we don't have any, and I'm not gonna have Josh run to the store just for that. So that was another reason why I thought it would be good to use this cucumber to kind of add like a fresh, bright, herbaceous-y note. I really need to freeze dry some cilantro because freeze drying really does have the best flavor when it comes to herb preservation. So now we kind of have this sour cream sauce. I'm gonna give it a taste test. Make sure it's mixed in really, really well. Okay, here we go. Ooh, that's really good. That is really good. Not too spicy either. I was a little worried because I kind of dumped in that cayenne pepper, but with that honey, perfect balance. Let me check on the salsa. So that has another probably 5 minutes left. So let's prep the last thing that we're gonna prep. Maybe not the last, I don't know. Let's just prep the next thing. So I'm gonna leave these spices out because we're gonna need those for the salsa. This is done. I also want to put a lid on our tomatoes and our guacamole. So all that needs to go in the fridge because they won't be here for a few minutes. And then I have 2 mangoes that are very ripe. So I want to cut these up and we can put these on our tacos or our burrito bowls. We're having burrito bowls today. I could turn this into a salsa, but I used the only onion I have. The rest of the onions are in the garden right now. So I'm just gonna have it be straight mangoes, just like we're having the tomatoes as straight tomatoes. Our mango is chopped up. I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator and then I'm gonna prep the rest of the things we need for the salsa. So I'm gonna slice these 2 limes and we're gonna get these limes in the blender. We're gonna blend up this salsa verde. So while we're waiting for the tomatillos to finish cooking, we might as well go ahead and get everything in the blender so that I can put all the spices away. I guess the only spice we're gonna put in here is some cumin. We already salted and peppered the tomatillos, and I think they're done. So they're nice and roasty, toasty. So we're gonna pour the juices, tomatillos and onions, garlic, everything right in here. And I would put a whole bunch of cilantro, but we don't have it. And then we just turn it on. Oh, I should not have my hand over that hole because this is hot. I almost poured this out of the blender before tasting it, but you definitely want to taste it first because if we need to add anything, it'd be easier to mix it up in the blender. It's going to taste a little different because it's still hot. Perfect. No more salt. Slight sweetness because that was a Walla Walla or Vidalia onion. Same type of onion, just depends on if it was grown in the South or in Walla Walla, Washington. Very, very sweet, super tangy, perfect amount of salt. This is the perfect time to make this yourself. Tomatillos are in season right now. You can get them at the farmer's market. You could get them at the grocery store. So good and so easy, friends. That was so easy to do. I do have a full recipe. I can link down in the description box if you're interested in having an actual written recipe. We're gonna get this in here. This is Josh's favorite thing that I make out of the garden. So hopefully this is the first of many, many, many tomatillo salsa verde that we'll be making. And hopefully we'll get enough to can. I was able to can quite a bit last year. It was not enough to get us through the whole year. And I only had 2 tomatillo plants this year. I think I have 6 or 7. So hopefully we will have enough. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up my mess. I'm so excited about this kitchen. I have to tell you, I was a little worried about the layout. I didn't know if it was gonna be functional. I'm still not 100% sure about how things are gonna be laid out, spice-wise and things. But so far, it feels great to be cooking in this kitchen. Oh, I'm just loving it. So let me get this cleaned up and I'm gonna decide whether we're gonna cook the beans for dinner tonight as well. I did decide to go ahead and open up a can of beans. If it's too much, we'll have leftovers and Josh and I will appreciate that, so we don't have to worry. I don't have to worry about cooking. I'm just scraping out the rest of the blender there into our beans. These are homegrown, home canned black beans. I'm not getting any black beans out of my garden this year, so these are a very prized commodity. They already are seasoned with salt, and so we do need to put a couple more seasonings in here. All I'm gonna add to these beans to make them pretty flavorful, because they've got good flavor on their own, is some garlic powder, homegrown, and then just a little bit of this grass-fed butter. This is the best butter I've ever had my entire life. I can link it down below if you're interested in it. It's so good. It's so good. And so I'm gonna put that in there with the salt, the garlic, and the butter. That's all those need. Everything else has so much flavor. I won't heat those up quite yet. Josh should be on his way home with his friends pretty soon. And dinner is done. I'm gonna serve this dinner with some cojita cheese that I have in the refrigerator and some cowboy candy. And just thank you so much for hanging out with me today as we organized this kitchen and we cooked our first, I feel like, true meal in the kitchen. I've cooked here before, but this feels like actually cooking at home now. And the fact that we're having friends over tonight to enjoy this meal just warms my heart. I love having people over. I love cooking for people. And I'm just super grateful that we were able to get this done today. Now, it's not 100% done. Like I said, I'm not married to the way that I've organized it. You guys probably are gonna give me some really good suggestions. And so I look forward to reading those. And I just wanna say thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you guys enjoyed this video, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. I can put a couple more of my videos here you can go enjoy between now and my next upload. And I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.